the time. This is 1010 Wins. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good morning. 64 degrees at 6 o'clock. It is Tuesday, September 11th, and here's what's happening. It's primary day, and the polls are officially...
September 11th, 2001, began like any other day in New York. It would become a day that changed the world. Millions shared the unimaginable horror of the attacks on New York and Washington. Now, through the memories of the country's key decision makers, this film will go behind the scenes to show, minute by minute, how the people at the heart of American power struggled to manage the assault on our nation.
America is under attack. That's all I said to him.
This country's got to go on a war footing now.
My lead Secret Service agent grabbed my belt with one hand, put his other hand on my shoulder, and literally propelled me out of the room.
I feel somebody grab my back very hard and start pushing me to run. I didn't know why I was running.
My commander looked at me and he said, "We are living a Tom Clancy novel."
Get there! What's happening? Just right.
This is the inside story of how America's leaders grappled with an extraordinary day a decade ago, told through pictures and sounds recorded on 9/11. It's a story that still haunts all of our lives. President Bush begins his morning run on a Florida golf course. The president is in Sarasota to promote his early reading program at a local school. He has flown from Washington on Air Force One, together with White House officials and a group of journalists.
It was just like any other trip we would take anywhere in the United States for a couple of days, where the president would give a couple speeches, see some elementary school kids, kiss some babies, and go back to Washington.
I knew the president was planning to go for a pretty serious run because he had invited a reporter to run with him, and the reporter had been an all-American cross-country runner, and I knew that the competitive Bush spirit would have the president anxious to run a record time.
And the president ran by and called out to me, "Come on, Stretch, let's go."
Come on, Stretch. Come on. Come on, Stretch.
That was his nickname for me, and off we went. There was a Secret Service agent running along behind us. Near him was another agent riding a bicycle with a weapon slung across his shoulder. And there were some other agents in golf carts.
The representative of the press corps acquitted himself quite well. he spurred me on to new heights.
As the president ends his run, 1,000 miles away in Washington, Vice President Dick Cheney is beginning his day.
Well, it was an ordinary day in the White House. With the president gone, of course, there's sort of a different pace to things.
George had left, but his parents spent the night with us. And early on Tuesday morning, they left. The house was very quiet. I was there by myself then. All the guests had left, and George was gone.
25 miles from the White House, a team of hijackers is passing through Dulles Airport security. Another team including the terrorist leader Mohammed Atta, had started their journey from Portland, Maine to Boston 90 minutes earlier. Before 8 a.m., 19 hijackers have boarded 4 separate planes. As students and press assemble for the president's visit to the school in Florida, the hijacking of American Airlines Flight 11 from Boston is underway. A flight attendant on board contacts her control center.
The cockpit's not answering. Somebody's stabbed in business class. I think we're getting hijacked.
News of the hijacking is beginning to reach civilian and military air traffic controllers.
We've had word that there's a possible hijack out of Boston American 11. We hadn't had a hijack or even a potential hijack in many years.
In an operation room, they said there's a hijack, and we went to work trying to find this aircraft.
Now at the controls of Flight 11, the hijackers' leader, Mohammed Atta, transmits a message.
Just stay quiet and you'll be okay. You are heading to the airport.
Military radar systems are not designed to track rogue planes over U.S. airspace, so picking out one aircraft is a daunting task.
All we saw were just a lot of radar blips. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
If you try to make any move, you'll injure yourself and the airplane.
We didn't know what was going on. I only know that the aircraft turned southbound and is heading towards New York.
Hi, Boston Center, Team U. We have a problem here. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York.
Air traffic control alerts the Northeast Air Defense Sector to ask for fighter jets.
And we need you guys to, we need someone to scramble some F-16s or something up there to help us out.
Is this real world or exercise?
No, this is not an exercise manifest.
We put 2 F-15s on alert.
We would get strapped into the jets, and at that point we just waited for what the next order would be.
Flight 11 slams into the World Trade Center. At their base 150 miles away, the fighters are still awaiting the order to take off.
The president's motorcade went over to the Emma E. Booker School, and we were unusual in that we were running a little bit late.
I received a call from my staff in the White House Situation Room while we were in the motorcade that an aircraft had impacted into the World Trade Center. As we stopped the motorcade at the elementary school, I hurried from my vehicle up to the president's vehicle. I briefed the president at that point, and he looked at me and said, "Thank you, Captain, keep me informed."
My Secret Service agent said a plane has just flown into the World Trade Center. We thought it was some terrible accident or maybe even a suicide of a pilot in a small plane.
We just had a plane crash into level 4 of the World Trade Center, transmit a second alarm, and start relocating companies into the area.
In New York, leaders of the city government and rescue services are rushing to the Twin Towers.
This has just come into us, word of this incident at the World Trade Center.
Mayor Rudolph Giuliani is having breakfast in Midtown Manhattan, 20 minutes from the Twin Towers, when he hears news of the plane strike.
My first thought was, this can't be an accident. On a day like today, with this beautiful sky, this has to be either a terrorist attack or some deliberate act of personal insanity.
I heard an explosion. I literally bolted out of my desk,
outside to the front of City Hall to see if I could see what it was. And I looked up, and there you could see the side of the World Trade Center where there was a hole in it, and there was smoke coming out at that point. And actually, you could also start to see papers floating out.
The World Trade Center, tower number 1, is on fire. The whole outside of the building, there was just a huge explosion.
As we were driving down, we could see that it was much worse than we had originally thought. Tried to reach the police commissioner, the fire commissioner. Tried to reach the White House, actually. A lot of the cell phone service wasn't working.
We have units on the way up now. We're reporting a fire on the 78th floor. That's unconfirmed time.
Get ready. Robert. Yes, Robert. Get ready. Ready. Yes.
More than 1,000 miles away in a Florida classroom, the president has only hints of the news that is beginning to reach the reporters traveling with him.
Okay, get ready to read the word.
It seemed to me the president had a sense something was amiss. You could feel it in the room. There were questions swirling around. By that point, I was on the phone with one of my editors who was quietly narrating into my ear what she was seeing on television. And I remember her saying, "Oh, wait, there's another plane coming."
I look up and you could see that second plane now hitting into the South Tower. All the debris was coming down on us, and we thought, well, this is it.
We have ambulances and everybody else pulling up, and we got debris falling from the building. They have to stop short of the building, either north or south.
With all of the material raining down, I jumped into a police car. It may have been the smartest thing I did that day, because while I was in that car with my head down, literally on the floor, a piece of metal crushed the police car.
04 boy, do you copy? We just saw the explosion happen. We're heading in that direction.
We saw an explosion. And we were about 3 minutes away at this point, and we obviously knew now that it was a terrorist attack.
I literally felt sick, the thought of what had happened and what it meant.
The impact of a second hijacked plane alerts the nation's leaders and decision makers in Washington to the realization that the country is under attack.
When the second plane hit, it obviously